Quiet. Quietness is more than just the absence of sound. It's a conscious decision, a powerful force capable of upending an individual's pride. Imagine a deep, endless ocean where, without warning, a powerful wave of stillness replaces every ripple of noise. When you harness silence, it becomes the one thing that a person cannot change or control. It becomes a mirror that reflects their own attitude and choices as loudly as possible. Sue once said that silence is a source of great strength, and that strength has the power to break down their confident attitude more deeply than any argument, explanation, or plea could. You've tried talking, reasoning, and perhaps even bending a little to make things easier, but you've wasted words on people who take them lightly. It's time for a different approach, one that doesn't require you to do a thing. They crave your response, their reaction, and the assurance that they can still receive a response. However, when you refuse to respond or embrace silence, the game shifts. In that silence, they begin to lose control, and their attitude begins to crumble, one quiet moment at a time. At dawn, imagine a deep forest that is so still that every sound and movement seems out of place. A person enters with the intention of disrupting the tranquility, believing their presence would release something, only to find themselves engulfed by the silence, dwarfed by the towering trees, and enveloped by the vast, steady calm that envelops them. Your quiet is like a huge, unyielding forest that no one can get through. They might try to shout to fill the space with their importance, but all that comes back is an echo of their own voice. Quietness amplifies the power of stubborn silence. The stillness absorbs their noise and reflects it back, leaving them isolated with the weight of their own existence. Over time, they realize their actions have no effect in this forest of silence. In every quiet moment, in every unreturned text, and in every empty space, your silence becomes louder than any words you could ever speak. As the philosopher Seneca said, life is not how long it is, but how good it is. This quiet isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. It's about picking quality over quantity, strength over struggle, and finding peace in the limits you set. And here's the irony. They might think your silence is a sign of weakness, but it's really a statement of strength that says, I am more than your games. Stepping back leaves them dealing solely with their own attitude. They have to face the reality of their actions without the comforting balm of your response. Like a dancer without a partner, they find themselves awkwardly stumbling as they realize that without your participation, the rhythm they thought they controlled falls apart. They've grown accustomed to using your reactions as a backdrop, and now that they don't have it, the silence feels sharper and heavier with each passing day. You see, silence isn't passive, it's active. It's a boundary, a decision, a form of self-respect that beats any argument or heated exchange. The silence tells them, I don't need to convince you of my worth because I already know it. In that space, they start to question themselves and wonder why the attention they used to take for granted isn't there anymore, why the reassurance they felt in your presence has gone. The weight of their own actions haunts them in the silence, leaving them to sit with an attitude they once believed to be unbeatable. Imagine an old clock in an empty room. Its steady ticking was once a comforting rhythm that they barely noticed but always relied on. As they approach, the clock stops and the silence is deafening. Each step toward it strengthens the stillness, reminding them of what they once relied on. Your silence is frozen in time. This serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of their actions and the unwavering absence of the constant presence they had grown accustomed to. Now, in the quiet void, they face the emptiness where support and connection used to live. And just like that clock, your story holds a lesson they won't soon forget. Marcus Aurelius said, being unlike someone who hurt you is the best revenge. That difference is your silence. It's a pledge to resist games and manipulations, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and resist succumbing to fleeting emotions. Instead, you'll let your silence tell them what they lost without saying a word. This silence is your shield. You have things to say, but you don't need to say them. Those of you who keep your peace, value your energy, and put yourself before their needs are teaching them the most important lesson they'll ever learn. They can't ignore it. Every day, your silence reminds them that they no longer have your attention. They may try to fill your silence, but the loudest silence holds back what they want to hear. Let them sit with the emptiness and feel the void, as it holds the echo of everything they failed to value. They'll find that the space you left behind is difficult to fill. It's a warning that they didn't value something real or irreplaceable. Your silence becomes a mirror for them, causing them to look at their own attitude, which has lost all the confidence it once had. In that mirror, they'll see what it costs to take your presence for granted. You will grow stronger, more grounded, and calmer over time. You'll realize that your silence isn't just a response, but also a reflection of your own self-worth. You're choosing to step back and let them face themselves without the comfort you used to give them. In doing so, you've made the strongest statement of all, one that says a lot without saying a word. Allow your silence to become the truth. They will find it impossible to ignore the lesson they can't escape, and your silence will ultimately break their will. Power. It's the cool, unbreakable strength that demands respect without saying a word. You're standing firm in your self-worth and letting your quiet presence say a lot. Remind yourself that you don't need to chase after, explain, or justify yourself to those who have taken you for granted. Your silence reveals their loss and serves as a reminder that your worth is independent of their approval. Write in the comments if you're ready to declare your strength and let them feel your silence. If this message speaks to you, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us motivated to bring you more empowering content on your journey to self-respect and strength. Firstly, allow them to feel the impact of your departure. Each step you take on a dusty road creates a cloud that persists long after your departure. That's what your silence means after they've left. Your absence has left them with only dust to breathe, reminding them that you're no longer there to comfort, explain, or fix them. You've withdrawn, leaving them to grapple with the consequences of their deeds, enveloped in the unexpected emptiness of Stoic philosophy. As the saying goes, sometimes silence is the loudest kind of noise. In this case, the noise comes from the fact that you're no longer there. Like a trail of dust, it blurs their vision and fills the space where you used to be, reminding them of what they took for granted. This silence isn't a retreat. It's a resolute step forward. Let them taste the dust of your departure. By letting them feel the holes of what they lost and the bitterness of their own disregard, you teach them a strong lesson in self-reflection. Your silence changes their understanding of what you meant to them, just like a whirlwind changes a landscape. At first, they might feel fine without you, but as time passes, they will begin to feel the weight of your absence. Where there was once support, warmth, and connection, now there's only a fading trail, a shadow of what used to be. Think of a traveler lost in the desert. At first, they may brush off the thirst, thinking they can handle it. But as time goes on, the lack of water, the absence of that source of life, becomes a pain they can't ignore. Your silence is that thirst, that void that grows in their minds as they realize that the connection, comfort, and care you offered isn't just sitting there waiting for them. You've moved on, leaving only the dust of memories behind. In that dust, they have to face the consequences of their actions. In many ways, your silence is like a mirror that shows them how they behaved. They can see the effects of their neglect in the places where they ignored you and the emptiness that now fills those places. Dust remains as they try to move on, a faint reminder that they once had something valuable and ignored it. Confucius once said, "Silence is a true friend that never betrays." In this case, your silence is a loyal ally that stands firm and won't give in. Letting them face the truth they've been avoiding and letting them taste the dust of your departure is about asserting your worth without speaking. You're not arguing, pleading, or giving in. Instead, you're standing firm in the silence and letting them feel the weight of your absence like a shadow that follows them around. Just like a storm doesn't explain itself before it goes away, you don't have to tell them why you're pulling away either. Your silence is like a storm that clears the air, leaving only dust for them to breathe in. Each breath reminds them of what they lost. They may try to fill the void with other people or meaningless noise, but nothing will beat the presence you once gave them in the quiet moments. When no one else is present, the unsettling dust envelops them, preventing them from escaping the reminders of the neglected connection. Your silence turns into a quiet but relentless force. Telling them things they can't ignore and having to face on their own, this silence isn't about getting back at them. It's about reclaiming your authority and demonstrating your resistance to manipulation. Withdrawal lets them know they don't need you. It's a gift that you chose silence. Let them live with the consequences of their actions to send a subtle but strong message that you are no longer available when they want. Remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. If someone can't understand your silence, they probably won't understand what you say either. If they couldn't appreciate the depth of what you offered when you were there, let your silence become the echo that stays with them long after your departure. Elbert Hubbard once said, "Let them taste the dust of your departure as a reminder that your worth was never in question." This is your confirmation, theirs to forget. I'm the dust they taste in my quiet. If you're prepared to allow your quiet to speak loudly, share this affirmation in the comments section. If this message speaks to you, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Your interest allows us to continue creating powerful content that will empower you to become stronger and more self-respecting. Secondly, consider the missing puzzle piece. Imagine a picture that is missing one important piece. The other parts might be there, but the picture doesn't look right without that last piece. Hollow, not finished. Your silence represents a void that no one else can fill. They may have seen the whole picture with you, but they didn't value you enough. Now that you've departed, they find themselves gazing at the void, comprehending that the very aspect they overlooked was essential to their sense of wholeness. Your absence isn't just empty space. It's the unfillable space that throws everything off. The silence you leave behind speaks louder than words could. A quiet reminder that without you, things just don't add up like a missing puzzle piece. They'll try to ignore it, brush it off, pretend it doesn't bother them, but as time goes on, that gap becomes more glaring, more irritating. Every attempt to cover it up or move on just brings them back to the same conclusion. You were the one part that made the picture complete. As Marcus or I once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In this case, your silence has dyed their mind with memories of you, leaving an imprint they can't wash away. They might think they can move on, that they can replace you with someone else, but like a puzzle with an oddly shaped hole, nothing will quite fit. Your presence was distinct, unique, and without you they'll feel every day. The emptiness deepens. Imagine the silence you've left as a whisper, echoing through the spaces where your laughter once filled the room, a silent reminder of what they've lost. Over time, they will become aware of the unresolved issues and unfilled gaps, as the magnitude of their loss surpasses their initial perceptions. This silence isn't just an absence, It's a line that says, "I won't be taken for granted," and every time they feel that emptiness, they'll be reminded of what they let slip away in the quiet space you've created. They'll feel like their own choices. Remember Epicus. How you handle your circumstances matters more than what happens to you. When you choose silence, you give them a chance to respond and feel the effects of their choices in the void you've left. But they must look in the mirror and see the gap where you once fit perfectly. Your silence serves as a mirror, revealing to them everything they overlooked and failed to recognize until it vanished. Hold on to this strength, this quiet but powerful choice to let your absence speak. You don't have to explain, argue, or justify. People will know how valuable you are for that part of themselves that feels a little less stable and whole every day that you're not there. Stay silent and impart a valuable lesson to others. It is important to remember that being here is not a given, but rather a gift. End with this affirmation and let it remind you of how valuable you are. I'm the piece that goes here, cannot be replaced and whole. If you're ready to let them feel the weight of your absence, write this in the comments. If this speaks to you, show your support by liking this video and subscribing. Your participation helps us bring you these empowering insights, and we're grateful to be a part of your journey. Number 3. Imagine leaving them in a precarious situation. Each step you take leaves them watching, holding their breath, waiting for your next move. Your silence, merely a pause rather than a declaration, gives them the impression that they are still in control, but it unravels each thread between you one by one, leaving them suspended in an unexpected silence. This is the subtle power of leaving them in a state of uncertainty. By retreating into silence, you're not reacting. You're letting them feel the weight of uncertainty, the gap they thought they could ignore. As the philosopher Seneca said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Now they're wasting time wondering, questioning, and doubting in the silence that seemed unimportant. Your silence becomes a deliberate space that forces them to recognize what they've taken for granted. Imagine beginning a statement, but never finishing it, leaving them waiting for words that never come. That's the essence of leaving them in suspense. The threads they once believed would bind you to their expectations. Find out your quiet strength to keep going. When someone calls or texts you but doesn't answer, it's like an unfinished sentence that only you can finish. Suddenly, the power of silence becomes painfully clear. They realize they need your answers and presence more than they want to admit. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. By holding back, you're not playing their games. Instead, you're showing that your silence is intentional, that you're not there to give them the easy reassurance they seek every time they reach out and only hear silence. The frayed edge of the thread that connected them to you is now slipping from their grasp. Their own choices weave a delicate yet powerful web, trapping them in the consequences of their actions. They attempt to reach out to you in an attempt to break the silence, but each attempt only serves to further entangle them. They realize too late that the strands that were holding them up have weakened, and now the support they took for granted is unraveling thread by thread. They must accept that they are hanging by a single flexible line and receive no help from you. The quiet echo of an empty space echoes like the end of a song. The silence carries the same power as the melody, and without your presence, all they have left are echoes that replay memories they can't resurrect. Each memory, which used to be comforting, now serves as a reminder of the connection they ignored. It's like they're hanging over an empty canyon and hearing their own voice bounce back unanswered. They feel stuck and uncertain, reaching for something that isn't there anymore. Your silence has made them face themselves in a public place. They come to understand that the comfort they once experienced was fleeting and that the warmth they took for granted could vanish without a word. Standing tall in your silence and leaving them hanging by a thread isn't about anger or revenge. It's about showing that they can't play with your presence. By refusing to rush to their aid, you're asserting your worth and making it clear that you don't exist to fill the silence they created. Let them feel the fragility of the connection they thought would always be there. Remain steadfast, understanding that your quietness amplifies the impact of your words. My silence is my strength, and I choose who holds the threads of my presence. Write this affirmation in the comments if you're ready to embrace the strength of silence. If this message speaks to you, please support us by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your support enables us to continue creating these empowering lessons for you. That color of fading light that used to be bright and warm slowly goes away, leaving behind an eerie twilight. This is what your silence is all about. It's soft, calm, and irreplaceable. Your silence is strong, like the last rays of sunlight at dusk, and it makes them long for the warmth and light that only you once gave them. At first, they might not notice it because they assumed you would still be there, just as they did on the day they took for granted. But as time goes on and your quiet grows, they begin to feel the void, just as night falls and only memories of light remain. Your quiet withdrawal will remind them of all the things they missed. Your silence won't demand attention like dusk does. It will gradually fade away, leaving a lasting impact that words could never surpass. The Stoic philosopher wisely said, "Silence is safer than speech." This isn't about retreating or weakness. It's about reclaiming your inner strength and deciding not to waste energy on those who took you for granted by fading like dusk. You allow them to confront the darkness of their own choices. In your silence, they will find themselves searching for the light they let slip away, only to find nothing but shadows of what once was. Think of your silence as a soft, inevitable descent, like the sun retreating from the sky. It leaves a mark, one they may not fully grasp until it's gone. The beauty of dusk lies in its quiet disappearance. Not as you withdraw, the subtlety of your silence becomes undeniable, filling their mind like the cooling shadows of twilight. There's a lingering presence that remains, a haunting memory of the light that once illuminated their world. This fading presence holds a potent lesson. They may attempt to replace your light with distractions, yet the irreplaceable glow of dusk will remain. They will feel the chill of your silence surrounding them, just as the world grows colder without sunlight. It will be too late to realize they missed something rare and steady. Your quiet retreat, like the setting sun, leaves a deeper shadow that makes people remember what they've lost. And remember, the setting sun never says sorry for leaving, it just moves on. You don't need to explain or justify your silence either. The beauty of your quiet retreat lies in its ability to maintain your composure and steadfastly resist their responses. There they can't break the natural rhythm of your quiet, and as they sit alone in the darkness, they realize they were basking in a light they never took the time to appreciate. As the Stoic Marcus Aurelius once said, the best way to get back at someone who has hurt you is to be different from them. Not lowering yourself to their level or pleading for respect or recognition. You're letting your silence be your message and boundary. This quiet doesn't imply ceasing to be kind. Allow yourself to fade like the last light at dusk, as it's reserved for those who truly deserve it. It's better to be quiet than to argue. In that twilight you'll find power, peace, and a reminder of your own worth, which doesn't need their approval. And let them sit in the darkness of their choices, and let your silence protect your heart. When the sun goes down, I'm like the light at dusk, strong and silent. Write this in the comments if you're ready to breathe deeply and let your silence speak. If you agree with this message, please like this movie and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your help. Your support motivates us to continue providing you with more insights and empowering lessons on strength and self-worth. Let's keep going on this trip together. Number 5. Slip into the shadows. Imagine this. Despite your constant presence and readiness to contribute, they have treated your loyalty and warmth as insignificant as wallpaper. It's time for a change. Instead of speaking out, choose the quiet power of slipping into the shadows. There should be no loud exit or drama, just a quiet retreat, like the sun going down behind the mountains. Your silence will be like the quiet darkness they didn't know they were afraid of. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little that is poor, but the man who desires more." Your quiet becomes the answer to their lack of gratitude, making them want what they no longer have. By withdrawing, you're reclaiming your energy from someone who once took it for granted, and the silence you leave behind resonates more powerfully than any words could. Slipping into the shadows doesn't mean vanishing entirely. It means stepping back just enough for them to feel the loss, imagining a light dimming gradually in a room they thought would always be illuminated. At first they might not notice it, wrapped up in their own world, but as the darkness deepens, they'll find themselves reaching for the comfort they once had and realizing it's no longer there. That's the impact of your silence. You're leaving them alone with the emptiness, letting the quiet of your absence echo in ways words never could. This is not about retreating out of weakness. It's about embracing the quiet strength of self-respect. Consider a shadow. It doesn't pursue validation or the light. It exists independently. Quiet yet ever present, by slipping into the shadows, you become the quiet, almost haunting presence that lingers in their mind, making them wonder why their world feels different, emptier. They may wonder why their world feels different, emptier. They may look around, searching for what's missing, and then it hits them. You were the steady ground they overlooked. Let your silence be like the quiet tide that pulls back from the shore. At first they might not notice as you gradually distance yourself, but eventually they'll feel, like the tide, you'll disappear, leaving them stranded, clinging to memories they thought would endure forever. As you fade into the shadows, you're leaving them with only a semblance of what you once offered, the warmth, the care, and the unwavering support that's now out of their reach. As Lau noted, choosing this silent, subtle path is a source of great strength. Retreat. You're showing them that you're not a fixture they can just ignore. You are a gift, a constant source of support, and now that you've slipped away, they'll have to confront what they lost. The realization will dawn on them like a slow sunrise after a long, cold night. Your presence was a light they took for granted, and now they're left in the dim shadows. Slipping into the shadows allows you to wrestle with your own choices, reclaiming your peace and power. You're no longer waiting on them to appreciate you. Instead, you're stepping back into your own light, where their validation no longer matters. This silence serves as your shield, a declaration that, I'm sufficient on my own. I don't require recognition or attention from those who don't appreciate my presence. Remember that this journey isn't about punishing them. It's about honoring yourself. It's about showing through quiet action that you won't waste your light on someone who prefers shades. Let them feel cold without you while you enjoy warmth and peace. I am stronger when I am quiet. I respect my worth by stepping back. Write this in the comments if you're ready to reclaim your power through silence. If this message speaks to you, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps us going to share powerful lessons that help you stand tall in your worth. Number 6. Let your silence be a lock without a key. Imagine this. Someone comes up to you expecting warmth and attention, but all they find is a quiet, impenetrable silence. Someone else can't open the lock. No matter how hard they try, your silence has become a closed door that won't budge. In that moment, they realize they'll never reach you again. Epictetus, the philosopher, once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be considered foolish and stupid. You've taken a step back." Knowing that truth is strength lies in standing firm, even if others don't understand this silence right away. This closed door is where you can be quiet. A declaration of self-respect serves as a reminder that your presence is a privilege, not a given. By turning away and keeping the key to yourself, you send a message that is louder than words. You are no longer the open book they can casually skim through, a mystery they can't solve, a space they can no longer enter. As they stand before that locked door, wondering where they went wrong, your silence grows louder than any argument, louder than any confrontation could ever be. Consider the image of an ancient, intricately carved chest. They know there's something valuable inside, something irreplaceable, unique, something they had once taken for granted. But now, as they stand before it, they realize they no longer hold the key. They fumble, they try different approaches, maybe even try to pick the lock, but this is no ordinary lock. It is a quiet, unyielding barrier crafted with intention and held firmly by your choice. Each attempt to open it meets with silence, reinforcing the lesson they never expected to learn. Your presence was not an endless invitation. Confucius once said that silence is a true friend who never betrays your silence. This locked door gives them space to reflect on the choices that led them here. No distraction can replace the access they once had to you, leaving them to contemplate the choices that brought them here. This is the power of silent boundaries. Remember that the beauty of this locked silence lies in its resilience. You're not shutting down out of anger or bitterness. You're holding strong out of self-respect. Realizing the door's closure forces them to confront their actions. They think about times when they could have valued you more, times when they brushed off without realizing the gift of accessing your heart and mind. Now that they're outside that door, the silence is a better teacher than any lecture or explanation. It's not about punishing them, it's about reclaiming your own space and preserving the energy they once took without thinking. You're teaching them without words that they have to earn their place in your life by keeping that door closed. They can knock and try to peek through, but until they learn to value what's on the other side, that door stays firmly shut. In this locked silence, you're not hiding anything. It's not a sign of weakness to choose who gets to enter. It takes wisdom and strength to know that your worth doesn't rely on other people recognizing you. They may be looking for answers, but sometimes the deepest answer is the one they'll never fully understand. You are the lock without a key, a boundary that's firm, quiet, and impossible to break. Stand tall in your silent power. You've set a boundary that people will respect. Let them know that their choices have consequences. Their lack of interest has left an empty space. You're no longer an open door. You're a rare and valuable presence that they must value to truly enjoy. It's quiet that gives me power as the keyless lock. If you're ready to accept the power of your quiet and let it protect your sense of self-worth, write this in the comments. If this message speaks to you, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support enables us to continue creating lessons that empower you and guide you towards self-actualization. With strength and respect, the seventh person transforms into the book they desire to reread. Imagine a book that was always open and had its pages spread out for anyone who wanted to read it. The book would be filled with stories, secrets, and vulnerable moments that were always available for anyone to discover. The book remains open and accessible once more, but what happens when it shuts down? When the book is unavailable for casual reading, its pages take on a mysterious aura. Only hazy recollections of its contents remain for the reader. This is what your silence can do. It can turn you into a closed book, making them long to open the pages they used to take for granted. People tend to ignore what's always there. Within reach, like an open book on the coffee table, your presence became a familiar comfort that they thought would never change. But now that you've closed that book, opting for silence, all they have left are fleeting memories, hazy impressions of the words they hastily skimmed over. As the philosopher Surin Card once said, "Once you label me, you negate me." By isolating yourself, you reclaim your complexity and resist easy labeling or understanding, your puzzle and your worth picture. When someone sets aside a classic book with the intention of revisiting it in the future, they discover it has vanished from the shelf. The book vanishes from the shelf, leaving them with only recollections of the sections they scarcely perused. Your withdrawal creates a kind of scarcity, a hole they can't fill. Suddenly, they understand that each page once held something precious, now unavailable to them, and they find themselves grappling with the loss. By choosing to close yourself off, you're not being mean, you're honoring your own story. You're stepping away from the people who didn't enjoy your pages. Your deep quiet turns into a shield that protects you. If you can't enjoy my presence, you won't be able to enjoy my absence, which is like taking a rare book off the shelves. Your silence compels them to confront their own indifference, to acknowledge that they will never fully comprehend you due to their lack of effort. Now that you're quiet, you hold all the power. Your silence turns you into a mystery. They can't finish a story they really want to read again because it's already ended. Unused as a book on a shelf, you've transformed into a valuable and elusive object, leaving them to ponder the words and meanings they overlooked. You're no longer there to give them answers or be easily available. Remaining silent conveys the message, "I'm not here to gain understanding from those who didn't care about my story." Keep this in mind as you take back your space. Sometimes leaving is the most powerful thing you can do. If you're gone, they feel every unread line and overlooked word. They might never get to know you again because you're no longer a book that's always open. I'm a closed book. My story is only for people who value every word. If you're ready to reclaim your worth and respect your story, write this affirmation in the comments. If this message speaks to you, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Your support enables us to continue crafting these crucial lessons to guide you on your journey. Number 8. Be the thunder that rolls from afar. Imagine a storm rumbling on the horizon, powerful, unseen, yet impossible to ignore. That's the energy your silence carries when you pull back, creating an impact that resonates even from a distance. Your silence becomes the thunder that rolls from afar, a force that steadily grows in their mind, leaving them unsettled as they wonder what went wrong, realizing too late the gravity of what they lost. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Your silence is that calm strength, felt deeply, but without a single word spoken. This isn't a retreat, it's a recalibration. Just as distant thunder sends ripples across the sky, your silence, long after your departure, your silence echoes, revealing its presence in the silence you leave behind, akin to the quiet power of a storm slowly moving across a darkening sky. Your absence is a force they can feel, one they can't ignore no matter how much they try. Each passing day without your presence, it intensifies, echoing in their minds, serving as a reminder of their underestimated strength. Think of this silence as an invisible ripple that reaches them at their most vulnerable moments. This silence will serve as a wake-up call, reminding them of the loyalty, warmth, and stability they once took for granted. It will serve as a reminder that your presence was a gift, not a guarantee. They will feel the sound of thunder rising in their mind, replacing the silence that once filled it. If this speaks to you, please like and subscribe. Your support means the world to us as we work hard to give you lessons that help you reclaim your strength in silence.